Hello, I am doing some live photo editing of some of my pictures from hiking trip I did the other day. What you're seeing on the screen is from the last video. So if you're curious about these photos, you kind of have to do some digging to find my last time I did a live photo editing. But I don't shoot a lot of photography these days. So anytime I do, I do a live stream to just show my process. Because it's just kind of fun, and it it's fun to live stream it because photo editing is kind of boring. So being able to like talk about my process and what I do, it's kind of cool. So what I use is Capture One to edit my photography. It's just what I've used is a program similar to Lightroom, a little bit different, but very similar, and just what I prefer to use. So a lot of the things I'm going to be doing, you can also do in Lightroom if you use Lightroom. All right, so I also have the chat here. If you say hi or anything or have questions, I will see that. And so you can hang out with me. This can be like a hangout sesh if you're bored or whatever this afternoon, this evening. Say hi and all that. All right, so I have my card. I shot on the SD card. So my camera, I'll show you my setup that I brought with me. If you're interested in photography. So you can tell this is an old camera. I've had this a while. It's a tank. I like a tank camera that can take my abuse. I don't want a camera that I'm going to buy and it's going to break in a year. So this is a Nikon D810. And on the camera is just my current walking around lens is my Lensbaby Velvet manual focus, 56 millimeter. And what this does is when you adjust the aperture to a wider f-stop, there's like a motion blur effect, compression effect that happens to the images. So it's kind of fun to just play around with when I'm in ordinary scenes that normally I wouldn't find that interesting or bother photographing. So like a sunset, yeah, it's fine. It's not really what I go after. It's good. I mean, if you're in a very specific location or a very dramatic location, I was in a pretty dramatic location and it was kind of fun. But I was there I wanted to record a time lapse and video and stuff. That's kind of why I did it. But I brought the camera too. So we're going to see what's on the card. And this has a CF and an SD card slot. I don't know if they even do that anymore, but I prefer to shoot to the CF card, but it wasn't in there at the time. So I just shot on the SD card. So this is going to be fun when we get in there and do the images. So I have my card reader and I plug it in and we'll see if the screen will pop up here so you guys can see it. And welcome. Hi. Hi. You're welcome to say hi in the chat if you want to. All right. So that window didn't pop up. So I'm going to just make sure you guys can see that I don't clear my cards and I still have photos from the eclipse on there. So you can take a look at those. And these are all JPEGs because, there we go. These are all JPEGs because this is the SD card, which is the backup. I use it as the backup. So it takes JPEG versions of all the photos I take. So I do a RAW plus large JPEG. So if for some reason something happens to the card with the RAW files, I have large JPEGs. And why not just back up with the RAW? Well, it can really, these cameras, my camera is from 2015 or whatever. So that kind of lag can become a problem with it trying to write RAW files to an SD card. It can be a problem. So, and I'm not talking about all the time. It's just when you're trying to do a burst. And when you're trying to do a burst, there's usually a reason why. And the last thing you want is a lag. So that's why I do that. I've been shooting this way with this camera since 2016. And I've never lost a card. to corruption or damaged files or anything. I've lost a card because of my incompetence once or twice. One time I remember in particular, maybe that happened another time and I completely voided it out. But that's usually where the failure of the cards happen. I don't handle my cards. I don't monkey around with my cards. I leave them in the camera. The only time I take them out of the camera is to use the card reader. I prefer not to use the card reader if the camera allows me to plug it into the computer. But those kind of plugs tend to wear down very quickly. So that's the only reason I ever remove a card, is to use the reader. And I use very large cards, lots of gigabytes, so I don't have to change cards. I don't want to ever take a card out of my camera. And that's just me. That's just how I operate. Plenty of people will tell you differently, but that's how I've been doing it. And it's, yeah, and I've been doing it professionally. I did it from 2016 to 2022 professionally. So I never had a problem, but, you know, don't just listen to me. There's other people out there. Okay, anyway, we're going to fix this. We're going to go by, we'll just go to the bottom here. So I've got my Lupin photos. Here we go. So this is the hike here. These are the JPEGs. So where are the RAWs? The RAWs should be on here as well somewhere. Here they are. Okay. Now we had a problem trying to select all of these before. I don't really know how I'm supposed to do it now because they changed something in how you select photos on here. Oh, now I'm lost. You used to be able to just shift click what you wanted. I don't know. Do I have to highlight? How do I do it? How do I select all these? You do it that way. That picks everything. I know I'm doing this wrong. Like there's something I'm missing. Okay, here's the first RAW file. If I do shift, why doesn't it select all of these? I must be missing something. Because you used to be able to just shift click and it would select everything. Oh, okay, something like that. Okay, so for some reason that does it. So I shift click that and then that. Okay, why there's an extra click involved, I'm just glad I figured that out because I was panicking there for a second. Okay. Then I want to import these to my external hard drive always, not to my computer. So I'm just going to do that off screen real quick because who knows, you don't want to see my folder chaos going on. So let's see, I'm going to pick where photos, no. Usually I'm more organized. Ever since I stopped doing photography regularly, my organization has definitely gotten lax. Definitely gotten lax. So how is everyone doing today? Everyone tuning in? You can say hi. I'll see it in the chat and you can say hi if you want. All right. Where do I back up my folders? Where am I putting my images? Oh, it's on a different hard drive. I feel like I'm going crazy here. That's why. So it is, I think it's this one right on top. I think it is. Let's see what happens. This is happening in real time, folks. Yep, this is the right one. Okay, 2024. Okay, I'm organized. I'm organized. Okay, so we're gonna create. And I make a folder for importing the raws. Okay, and now I'll share the screen again. Here we go. All right, so I have them importing to a folder. So they're coming off the card, importing to a folder on my external hard drive. At this point as well, they're going to get renamed with the date. And so it has the date and image name added. If I was doing a very long sequence, I would also add the time that the image was taken in there. And if you shoot with multiple cameras, or even if you're just shooting with one camera before a shoot, it's good habit to sync your cameras, basically make sure they have the correct date and time, that they're putting that in the metadata of the photos. That will help you a lot in organization. Copyright, I have my name there, and I could add a description that could be added to the metadata. So I can go ahead and do that. And just some keywords and my name in there. Okay, and I have the option to add styles and auto adjust and all this stuff. If I want to, if I have a preset or something, a way of doing things, I could apply that at import. That I don't do. With a small batch like this, it's 107 photos, so I will manually edit them. And I also bracketed a bit here. So I use the bracketing technique of slightly overexposed, perfectly exposed, and then underexposed. So I have three photos of the same image. I was hand holding, so it's not perfect, but you can use that to make sure that you capture the photo with all the detail that you want. And if you want to, you can stack them and get an HDR look. It's kind of just a way to make sure in these situations where you have like a sunset, part of the image is very bright, while another part of the image is very dark. So it's just a technique. And modern cameras, you probably don't even have to do it because they have such a great dynamic range. So we're going to do that, and I'm going to share the screen of them importing here. Here we go. Oh, I forgot to do, I always forget something. So I need to create the catalog, the collection. So we're going to do a new project inside. Go. And then inside that, I did this wrong. I've been doing this wrong every time I do these streams. It's a lot of pressure. I'm not doing my normal flow. So it's just importing to this generic recent imports. So once this is done, I will move these all into my catalog here. Oh, you don't see it. There we go. Sorry. You can let me know in the chat when I do something like that. I hope everyone's having a nice evening. Okay, we're almost done. It's just off screen loading. And we'll have those ready. So I was mostly out there capturing video with my phone and my GoPro and stuff, but I brought the camera too to see. You never know, and get a different look. Something different. And it's just generating the previews, so I'm gonna just let that do its thing, and that looks very pretty. So you can see this lens around the edges has this motion blur effect, and it just is a way of bringing your attention to the center of the image. And I kind of like it for these kind of, it's a beautiful scene, but it's kind of humdrum. There's nothing that exciting about it. Okay, so I'm going to just select all. Okay, and then I'm going to drag them into the project I want to work on. Here we go. And I click here. There we go. Okay, and then from here, and everything's working. Okay. From here, I can just start going through and I give a label of either 5 stars, meaning I want to go ahead and edit it and work on it, or I see potential here, or I just kind of move on. Sometimes I'll give something an in-between rating, like a 3-star or something rating, because I'm like, oh, this is kind of interesting, but it's not my favorite. So I'll just set it aside because it might be one that I end up changing my mind about. And so like this photo is kind of just standing on its own. I didn't take any other photos in this spot. So it's kind of on its own. So this one I might give 5 stars to work on. It's kind of cool. I don't know. I'm not sold on it yet, but I do like the clouds, and I don't know, there's like this triangle shapes. So it intrigues me that way. We'll come back to it. This one is this tree growing out of a rock that I thought was cool. Sometimes I can just like brighten it up and maybe I can see if this has potential really quickly. That might make a cool, like, I'm not a big black and white photographer, but that one might make a cool black and white photo. So I think I'll give that 3 stars. And these here are, you know, this full sun. So I'm just kind of looking at these. They're pretty bright, you know, but we can see what we can get back out of these. And you'll see my sensor is so dirty. So dirty. There's no hiding from sensor dust at sunset, I'll tell you. Some lens flare there. No. This one's kind of cool. So I think here, yeah, I was adjusting the ISO and f-stop, just playing around with that. This one's too blurry, but this one I kind of like. Okay. And let's see. Oh, this thing. Okay, we'll get to that in a second because that was on the live stream I did. I did live stream from the summit. No. Okay, so I was just sitting on this rock and just sitting there. And this thing just crawled up on me, like not on me, but very close. And it freaked me out. So some sort of caterpillar. I got a few shots of it here. This did not look friendly to me. This looks intimidating. I think these dead pixels are not in the image. It's just the software for some reason is freaking out. Yeah, and if anyone knows what that is, please, please let me know. Please let me know. It creeped me out. It looked mean, like a mean one, and it was crawling pretty fast. So not, you know, this, and I'm using a manual focus lens on these, so it's pretty hard to get sharp. This one looks kind of sharp. Come on, zoom in. I don't know what's doing there. What this is doing. It's probably just my graphics card freaking out. Look at this thing. What in the world? Some kind of moth. Oh, these ones are prettier. So that has this, skies have this haze here. This is from wildfires in Canada, creating a haze. So even though there's no clouds really in the sky, the sunset's still kind of pretty. That one's kind of nice. How much of the shadow data is there? None. So this is completely lost. So maybe this one. This one might do better. So we'll try that one. This crop. Plane going overhead. I like that one. That one's kind of cool too. Kind of go with that one. And then the moon was rising behind me, and this was not the full moon. I believe the full moon was last night or the night before. So this is like right before the full moon. So I just took a couple of snaps of that. I don't think I'll do anything with those. So these are all just handheld. So I used a higher ISO so I could keep the shutter speed high. Normally, something like this, I would use a tripod, but I had my camera on the my phone on the tripod as I was live streaming this. See, this would be kind of a nice banner image, for putting text over. Seeing the histogram. I think you can see my GoPro here. Nope, that's a twig. Are people tuning in, watching me stare at my screen? You can say hi in the chat. I can see it if you want to say hi. Just these I took the other day on my hike. And so I'd like to live stream it because it's kind of boring otherwise. So here I like this. I like this, where the sun is just like dipping below the mountain there. Yes. Yes. Yes, I like that one. Not so much that one. And here I'm just trying different exposures as I'm playing with the f-stop. So this one's more blurry, but you really get that like ethereal look. And yeah, I don't know why it's doing that. Do you guys see that? Yeah, I don't know what that is. It's not in the photo. It's just, I probably have to restart Capture One. Or I'm just using too much. I don't have any programs open. Oh well. Yeah, that one's kind of cool. That's like, so this is, a very low, small number f-stop here. And just changes the scene completely. Very painterly. Yeah, that's probably it. Because here it just kind of looks like a hot pixel. And there's the moon again. There we go. Not quite full. I think it was full the next day, of course. All right, so that's that. So I haven't picked out that many, but what I do is I go back to my collection and do a smart album. And then in there I do, I just do the preset of 5-star or higher, or I could do 3-star or higher. I think I gave one of them a 3-star. Click on that, and now you'll see the ones that I picked. And then these will be the ones that I edit. So that's how I go through. Nothing scientific about it. If it's portrait, it's different, because you want to make sure that the eyes are sharp, if you're taking portraits. So that takes a little more time when culling. And then, of course, with portrait, expression is everything. And the shapes the body creates and all that. So it's a lot more work culling portrait, but with landscape, it can be like, oh, I like that. No, I don't like that. Bye. And it's fine. So it's kind of fun. So thanks for joining. And this is just a fun hang. So feel free to jump in the chat and say hi or ask any questions. Or I'm just walking through how I edit my photos in Capture One, which is a program similar to Lightroom. So if you're used to using Lightroom, a lot of the things I'm going to do are going to be tools that you're familiar with. They might be called different or work differently as far as like how the tool, you use the tool. It'll do pretty much the same thing. It just will be a little bit different in how you look at it. So let's go. Let's start with this first one. So this is just pretty straightforward. I would say that the white balance is off. It looks a little blue to me. I use auto white balance on my camera. I have a couple, if there's a scenario where it's a difficult white balance and I'm going to be shooting in that environment for a long time and it's a controlled environment, meaning it's not going to change, then I might do a preset white balance. But that's a very rare scenario. In most cases, I just do auto and then I can batch apply the correct white balance if it's a scene that's the same. There's a lot of noise going on outside. I don't know what's going on. All right, so I'm going to just do auto, see what that does. It still, to me, looks like very blue. So I like to warm things up a little bit. And if I do sunny day, default mode, that looks pretty good. And again, I'm looking at my laptop screen. It's not going to be the most accurate color balance, but you want to get it in the neighborhood for if you're going to be displaying these on screens, because every screen, it's going to look different. Now, if I was doing this for print, I would be going about this a little bit different, being a little bit more technical or discerning about my white balance and stuff. So I know that the colors are going to print accurately. But for just posting on social media or sharing as a digital image, eyeballing it is good. You don't want to go to any extremes. Like I don't want to push it beyond, even though I'm like, oh, I might like that, because there might be screens that have more of an orange tint to them and it'll even push it even more. And the same thing with the blue end of the spectrum. If I go too far, the blue end of the spectrum, then on some screens it's going to look even more blue. So you really want to just find that place in the middle that makes you happy and go ahead with that. All right. And as far as exposure goes and everything, I generally underexpose in general. So I typically will need to increase by about half a stop all my photos just out of the camera. And that's just to preserve any highlight data, because I know that my camera in particular, if I don't make sure I preserve that highlight data, I could have very bright blown out whites. And I also know about my camera, it's able to preserve the shadows better than it can preserve the highlights. So that's why just underexpose chronically. and I know I can rescue the details that are important to me. All right, so from there, then I might, play around with the shadow and the highlight to get more details in those clouds if I need it. And same thing with the shadows, to get some of this area, to me, like this is a little bit too dark. It's kind of distracting how dark it is. So pulling that up a little bit, I think would help this image. I don't want it to become monochromatic, like all the same color green. Like if I push it up here, it's all now a big green blob, but I don't want it here to be a big dark blob either. I want to have it just be its own unique color green, so we do get some separation from the rest of the scene, but it's not just a dark blob. So that looks pretty good to me. And the last thing I will do is I'll do my curves adjustment. And I like to line up the highlight with the end of the highlight data. So all this is nothing. There's nothing in here. So I can just move that there. And then the same thing I can do with the shadows, but you can see the shadows are right up against it, so I don't need to move that. And here I will just make a S-curve, typically, just to boost the contrast to where I want it. And I can make it more of a C-curve, actually, for this one. There we go. And you just kind of tweak it until you kind of find, oh, I think S-curve was right. There we go. Something like that. Okay. And now, to me, this looks blue again. I'm not sure why. I think it had to do with the highlights. So I'm going to go ahead back to the white balance and just bring that back to the tone that I want. Because this was evening light. It wasn't sunset yet, but it was evening light. So it's going to be a little bit warmer than high noon. All right, so for me, that looks good. It looks okay. I don't know. This is an okay image. I'm not that sold on it. I think it needs more contrast in the highlights. I think that's my problem. And yeah, that's fine. Oh, it just looks so blue to me. I look away and it looks pink as well. Yeah. So that's just like an example of one. I don't know. I'm not into this image that much anymore. All right. So here's another one and this one I was thinking of doing in black and white. So I'll show you how I would do that. So white balance, not that important. It can help because when you do convert to black and white, each color has its channel that you can adjust. So you can tweak like the reds in the image as they become gray tones. So you have more control when the colors are accurate in the image. So you don't, want to completely ignore that. But this looks, fairly good to me. I'm probably just going to adjust the white balance there. And I will do just a quick exposure. I don't know how it got, did I do that? I must have already did that subconsciously without even talking about it. So I did a stop over. Oh yeah, that's right. When I was culling, I looked at these. All right, so what I will do from here is I will go to the style panel up here, and there's going to be some custom styles and some built-in styles. So these ones I got a deal for these style packs and they're just, you know, they just apply to the images. So I kind of go through these and see which one hits it right. You know, that one's pretty good. That one's pretty good, number 7. Because I want to get to like for this, it's like, it's just nice to get to a starting point. That one looks pretty good. Number 11. And then I can see, did I like 7 better or 11? Whoops. I think 7 maybe gives me a little bit more room to play around. Look again. So there's that, and then I have all these other ones. So there's black and white ones mixed in here in this cinema pack. See, that's kind of cool, that one. And then there's film versions. Film replicant versions. You know, these look pretty good. Ooh, I like that one. Let me look at this one again. I don't know. That one kind of speaks to me. And then there's, you know, so there's a lot you can kind of play around. You can get a little like too obsessed with it. So don't go too crazy. All right, that doesn't have any. So I think I'm going to go with this one. So all I do is click on that, and then we have that applied. I can go back to the adjust panel and do any other adjustments. So I might bring back the highlights a little bit, but you can see how the highlights is affecting this dead tree here. So I don't want that to become like weird color or weird tone. We're not talking about color, weird tone. So I just tweak that. And how's everyone doing? I like to just check the screen to see how many people are watching. So thank you for joining. I'm just going through my process here, and you're welcome to say hi in the chat or ask any questions you might have. So nice to see you. Okay. So playing around with the highlights, I can just see what's going on with the shadows. So I kind of like where it was. Oh, maybe a little bit more like that. And then here I can go ahead into the histogram. Oh no, that's the levels. Let's go into the histogram. So there's already a curve applied to this that was within that preset. So I can make additional tweaks if I need to. So like here, I can go ahead and make a few little tweaks to this curve just to make the tones in this particular image pop a little bit. There we go. Look at that. That's cool. And I might, now with that change, I might bring out some more shadow data so that we can see what's going on in this little pine. Ugh, I hate that is just going all freaky. But that looks cool. I kind of like that one. The only thing that bothers me with it is this little thing here, this little bright spot that's like kind of cropped out, but not. And what I would do, because this is actually in a blurry area of the image because of the lens. Oh my goodness, this drives me crazy. I love zooming in and out. Why can't it just, so it is, this part is blurry. So I could actually just like get rid of that, and you wouldn't even know it was gone. But I would do that in Photoshop. I wouldn't do that in here. That would be in post-processing. But other than that, I think this is a really cool image. I would probably do something else to make that tree pop a little more. And I don't think brightening the shadows for everything is that. Probably some sort of dodging and burning going on here. But you don't want it to make it look too obvious. So that one has room for improvement. Maybe just brightening the image altogether would do it. And I can bring back the highlights a little. Something like that. Yeah, has potential. And then I just keep going through. So now this one, now I don't really like this one. I think I just picked it because I went through a lot of images and this was like one that stood out from that, but I don't like it, so I'm getting rid of it. And then here we have some sunset images. So I'm gonna go through and cull some more of these. Don't like it. Oh, that's so boring. This one's okay. That one's cool. Boring. Okay, so down to 4 images out of 100. I'm pretty brutal. All right, so but I just hate boring images more than anything. And these are all my images are pretty boring, so I'm fully aware. I'm fully aware. All right, so for this one, I'm just gonna bring some of the highlights back. I'm just checking my alerts there. Okay. Don't want to do too much. Just to see what's going on. Okay, I don't think I need to adjust the exposure, but the white balance, yes. Don't want it to be too orange on the foreground because this was in shadow. So it did not have any of that orange glow. Okay. So that's cool. And I think I'm going to just, we can see what, if I open up the shadows a little bit, what happens. Let's do a little bit of detail. Okay, so there's some highlight data right up to the edge. So that's what's making the sun not be bright white. So if I move that at all, you're going to have pure white in there. So I want to leave that right to the edge. And then the shadows are right up to the edge here too. So I don't want to monkey around with those. But I can do a little bit of an S curve here, might help things. Okay. You can really tweak the sunset. Okay, phone is dinging at me. It's annoying. Okay. Okay, so this is okay. The flare bit, I want to get rid of that. And that would be also, I would do that in Photoshop, not necessarily here in Capture One. I can probably do it, but it'll be so quick and easy in Photoshop. All right, and the sensor spots, so I can't do anything. I have a tool in here for sensor spots, but the weird artifacting that I'm getting when I zoom in, probably because my graphics card is just like being really mad at me right now. But I do have a tool. Where is it? Refine. Dust removal. We can ask it to do it automatically. It's pretty quick. We'll see. It's just processing. And you can see those spots that were there are gone. So it does a pretty good job on its own. If I click the dot here, it'll show me all the places where it created the dot. So where you want to look is along where the sensor dust spot would hit like the horizon line. But again, there's problems in here. So, but I'm just going to look at the horizon line and see if there's anything that's, because if one of these dots is right on it, it'll cause some problems. So I think that's fine. So that worked pretty good. And that image is, I think, pretty much done. I just got to go into Photoshop and do some final tweaks. And this is very similar to this. It's just a few moments later. So what I can do is click my original one, shift to the new one, and then I can apply the adjustments I made. So I can do apply the white balance. I can apply the shadows and highlights. I can also apply the curve I did, and anything else I did. And then I can go to the new image and I can look at it and it's like, well, that didn't really work for what I needed. So I just do these little tweaks to figure it out. So we have the sun there, and we want some more details in the shadows, not that much. There we go. There we go. All right. I mean, these are okay. They're not, I probably won't, I might put them on Instagram or something just to share them. But I don't know. Now this one I like, it's almost my favorite one. This one or this one. I just like the flare on this one. It's very different than you typically see. I don't remember what f-stop this is. It's probably 11, if I had to guess. So there we go. You know, this is just a little editing session. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. And I'll probably take these into Photoshop and just do those little kinds of cleanup things. Oh yeah, I can do the dust spots on this one. So we can do that demo because you can even see zoomed out these dust spots. So I'll just show you that again. So we go in here, and I don't know if Lightroom has a feature like this where it can just do it for you. And there we go, all gone. Very cool. Okay. So that was it for that one. And then this one, I don't think there's dust spots because the, because the aperture blurred it out. So you don't see them. It's only when you have like a sharper depth of field, bigger depth of field, wider depth of field, that you have those sensor spots become an issue. So you see them, I see them in my landscape photography, where in other photography you don't see it with a shallow depth of field. All right, so thanks for hanging out with me. If anyone wants to say something in the chat, I'm here, but otherwise I'm going to shut the stream down, and you're welcome to say hi if you want to or not. But thanks for joining me. It was fun, and I hope you have a great night. Bye.